So this section we're talking about circles. So our last section was parabolas, the U shape, and now we're closing that to make a circle. So our standard form of our equation is x minus h squared, y minus k squared. So we're taking that y value and we're squaring it now. That makes a circle. And that equals r squared. So hk, those numbers by x and y, those are not the radius, that's the center. And then r squared gives us the radius, just r is the radius. So whatever that value is out here, we would take the square root. Okay, so we have an equation here that's not in standard form. So we don't know what the center and the radius are. So in order to get this in standard form, I'm going to get all my x's together, which they already are. But I need my x and y on the same side, the equal sign. So I'm going to add y squared and subtract 16y from both sides of the equation to get 0 over here. So now I have x squared minus 12x plus y squared minus 16y plus 84 equals 0. So one more thing, the radius is out here by itself, and that's just the number. So I'm going to subtract 84 from both sides. So x squared minus 12x. And then to get it in this form with two squared binomials, we have to do something called completing the square. So when we complete the square, which I'll go into, we have to add on some number. So I'm going to leave some space. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the y's. Plus y squared minus 16y. We're going to add on some number equals 84, negative 84, 0 minus. And then these two numbers that we're adding on the left, we have to add on the right too. We have to keep our equation balanced, right? So completing the square is to get x minus h squared. So let me kind of go through how to do that. We take our b value. When I say b, I want you to think of standard form of a quadratic equation. ax squared plus bx plus c. So b's the number by x, and we're going to divide that by 2. So b divided by 2. And what that does is when we put that in our squared binomial, it's going to be x minus 6 squared. And I want you to think about what that means. We learned in our last section. That means x minus 6 times x minus 6. So if I were to FOIL this out, multiply it using the distributive property, I would get x squared minus 6x minus 6x plus 36, which would combine to negative 12x. So notice how this compares to this. Do you see what happened? By rewriting the squared binomial as x minus 6 squared, I added on a 36 here. So the shortcut way, instead of multiplying out every time, is divide this by 2, negative 6, that's what goes in your equation. And then this is that value squared, because we're timesing it by itself here at the end. So now let's do our y values. Same thing, I take the number next to just y or just x, divide it by 2. So now that's y minus 8 squared. And again, that means y minus 8 times y minus 8. So if I were to multiply this out, I would get y squared minus 8y plus 64. Or y squared minus 16y, right here, y squared minus 16y. But we're adding a 64. That goes here. That comes from the -8 that I get from there squared. Okay, and when I add on the left, the 36 and the 64, I have to add over here on the right. I gotta balance it. So now I have x minus 6 squared plus y minus 8 squared equals, I don't know, let me pull up my calculator. -84 plus 36 plus 64 equals 16. So completing the square helps us get our equation in standard form. So this is my equation in standard form. Okay, so HK is the center. So remember, it's minus minus. So H is just 6 and K is just 8. We're just pulling the numbers next to the negative sign. And that's the center. And then R squared is 16. But I just want R. So if I take the square root of both sides, R is actually 4. And that's the radius. So right here. 6, 8, R equals 4. Okay, let's do another one. So find the center of this equation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my x's together and get ready to complete the square. So I'm going to add a number, then I'm going to get my y's together and leave space to complete the square. And then this 29 I'm going to bring to the other side. And then whatever I add here on the left, I have to add on the right. So let's complete the square. So we take the number with just x, not x squared, and divide it by 2. So -6 divided by 2 is 3. And then that -3 that went here, we square that, so +9 is what we're adding. And if you need to write them out and multiply, that's totally okay. So let's do the y's. You take the number just next to y, divide it by 2. So 6 is what goes in our parentheses, and then that number squared is what you add on at the end. So after the equal sign, I have -29 plus 9 plus 36, which is 16. Okay, so this is our standard form. Remember, our general form is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So h is 3, but k is actually -6 because it's y minus -6. And the two negatives would make a plus. So our center is +3, -6. It's always the opposite sign of what's in the parentheses. Another one, get our x's together, leave space, get our y's together, leave some space, and then bring the number to the other side, but leave space for whatever we add on. Okay, so number right next to x, divide by 2, and that's what goes in our parentheses. That number squared is what we're adding on. So -2 squared is 4. And then the number next to just y divided by 2 is +3. Take that number squared, and that's what we're adding on is 9. So -9 plus 9 is 0, and we just have 4. So remember, the center's opposite signs. So since that's -2, our x value is going to be +2. Since that's +3, our y value is going to be -3, and that's our center. So this one, find the center and the radius. We're going to have to move some things around here. Leave some space to my x. I'm going to bring the y and the the y squared and the y to the other side by taking the opposite sign. So now they're on this side as a positive y squared and a negative 14y. And then this number, the positive 30, I would subtract it to get to the other side. So it's negative 30 over here. And then we need to add those same two numbers. Okay, so number right next to x, divide by 2, x minus 9 squared. Negative 9 squared is 81. The number right next to y, divide by 2, y minus 7 squared. Take that number squared is 49, and we're going to add that to both sides. So after the equal sign, now I have negative 30 plus 81 plus 49, which is 100. So my center is positive 9, opposite sign, positive 7, opposite sign, and then 100 is the radius squared. It's not the radius. So we square root both sides. The radius is actually equal to 10. It's this one. Okay, we got one more just like that. So same thing, I'm going to line up everything. X squared minus 16x. We'll move the y values to the other side of the equal sign. So plus y squared minus 22y plus some value. And then the positive 41 we're going to move over here to the right. Now it's negative 41 plus whatever those two added numbers are. Okay, so take the number right next to x and divide by 2. X minus 8 squared. Negative 8 squared is positive 64. Plus the number right next to y, divide by 2. Y minus 11 squared. Take that value, negative 11 squared, square it. It's 121 equals. So now we have negative 41 plus 64 plus 121. It's 144. So our center is opposite sign. Remember, 8, 11, positive. And then r squared is 144, not r. So we square root both sides, and r is actually 12. Okay, so you're going to have a lot of those, right? We just did 5 examples. And then you're going to have some that just say, match the graph. So here's a graph, and you need to write the equation. So the general form of an equation is this. Your center is HK, and then R is the radius. So for this one, our center is 0, 0. So we actually just end up with x squared plus y squared. And then our radius is 1, 2. You come from the center and you just go out to any side. It doesn't matter which way you go, right? You're always going to get 2. So 2 squared is 4. So for this example, it really is none of these are correct. Okay, there's a tricky one right there, but that's not it. Okay, that's it for this section. Good luck.